Today is Thursday, September 30th, and we are to begin our monthly meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order, and I invite you to please rise and salute the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, can you please read the statement of adequate notice?
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as follows. On January 12th and July 13th, 2021, notice was sent to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, the local source, and the clerk of the municipality. By state law, there is no smoking permitted in this building at any time.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Present.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Here.
Mrs. Fleming?
Present.
Mr. Gargano?
Here.
Ms. Gilliam?
Here.
Dr. Berghammer?
Here.
Mrs. Manganello?
Present.
Mr. Martucci?
Here.
Mr. Rivas?
Present. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to motion to approve minutes of the work session held on August 24, 2021, at the regular meeting held, and also the regular meeting held on August 26, 2021. Respectfully ask for a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
Abstain?
Mr. Martucci?
Abstain.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes. In our agenda, this is the part when we gladly receive comments from the public. Members of the public desiring to make a public comment may come forward at this time. Please begin your comments by stating your name and address. Individuals are invited to speak on one topic of the agenda at a time, and no individuals will speak more than once until all individuals so desire have spoken once. The public is reminded that to ensure the efficiency and orderly operations of the meeting, members of the public will be limited to speaking on items for 3 minutes. I will be closing the comments, and I will invite our superintendent to please let us know about your superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Rivas. Good evening, Linden Board of Education, cabinet members, parents, students, and community members. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. First, I would like to thank school number 1, Mr. Walters, and in particular the 4th grade class of Mr. Harper. Today I had the honor and pleasure to co-teach with Mr. Harper on the topic of Nelson Mandela and South Africa. Our children are spectacular, they are amazing, they are sponges, they are engaged, and they are starving for information. And it was one of the best times that I have had, one of, not the only, best times I've had in Linden so far. And I look forward to interacting and engaging with our students in the classroom more frequently. But I really wanted to extend a thank you to Mr. Walters and Mr. Harper for allowing me to come in and co-teach. Also in Linden, we are proud to announce that 4 more of our schools have been recognized as Apple Distinguished Schools for their continuous innovation in teaching with technology. McManus Middle School, Seoul Middle School, School number 1, and School number 2 have been recognized as centers of innovation, leadership, educational education that use Apple products. They join School number 6, 8, and 10, which have been previously recognized. Our MacBook Air laptops and iPad tablets are a key part of our technology one-to-one program that ensures that every student has the tools of technology they need for a quality 21st century education. Also, congratulations to School number 10, which was selected as a National PTA School of Excellence, and a distinction that recognizes the strong bond that the school has forged with its families and the community. I was also proud to take part in the special 9/11 Remembrance ceremony at Linden High School a few weeks ago. The LHS Peer Pals program continued their wonderful tradition of video conferencing with Allen High School in Allen, Texas. This partnership started 20 years ago after 9/11 and has flourished into a great friendship between students and staff members at both schools. Also, almost all of our schools have now held the back-to-school nights, and everyone was very happy to be able to welcome parents back into our buildings for the first time in nearly 2 years. Teachers opened up their classrooms to their students, parents, and shared their procedures, curriculums, and many of the great things they will be doing with our children this year. I also want to highlight the bravery and selflessness of one of our Seoul Middle School teachers, and I'm pretty sure most of you were able to catch this amazing act of heroism, not only on our local news channels, but also on the national news channels. When a parked car started rolling toward a group of students on the first day of school, health teacher Valerie Torrillo ran and jumped into the moving car to hit the brakes without giving any thought to her own safety, only the safety of our students. This kind of extraordinary dedication exemplifies the best of our Linden Public School staff. This October is National Principals Month, a time for us to thank our dedicated, hardworking, determined, and visionary principals that work for the Linden Board of Education. I would like to take this moment to thank Mr. Michael Walters, acting principal of school number 1, Mr. Peter Fingerland, principal of school number 2, Dr. Suzanne Alivero, principal of school number 4, Dr. Laura Scamardella, principal of school number 5, Mr. William Mastriano, principal of school number 6, Mrs. Michelle Rodriguez, principal of school number 8, Dr. Larry Plummer, principal of school number 9, David Walker, principal of school number 10, Mrs. Atia Perkins, principal of McManus Middle School, Miss Gwendolyn Long, principal of Seoul Middle School, Mrs. Yelena Horay, principal of Linden High School, Mr. Kyron Zaire, director of Equity in Education and Alternative School Academy of Excellence, and last but certainly not least, Dr. Marie Stefanik, director of our Special Education and Top Program at the Academy of Excellence. Your long hours and hard work make such a difference to ensure that learning and growth of both our students and staff. We are forever grateful for all that you do. And last but certainly not least, I would like to recognize retirement. Miss Diana Diem started in 2002 as a paraprofessional for the Linden Board of Education. Diana has worked at various schools during her 19 years as a paraprofessional. Starting March the 1st, 2002, Ms. Diem will retire from Linden Public Schools on October the 1st, 2021. Thank you for your passion and dedication to the students and families in Linden. The Linden Board of Education wish you all the best. Enjoy your retirement. Something else I want to mention to the board and to our parents in the audience. Tomorrow, hopefully, if not tomorrow, no later than Monday, you will be receiving a notification from the district regarding the latest TikTok challenge. I don't know if you're aware, probably maybe 2-3 weeks ago, there was a TikTok challenge that challenged students to go into their school bathrooms and rip fixtures from the walls. And so we've had scattered instances of this occurring in our schools, and the principals have been on top of this. Today I received an update from a principal informing me that the latest TikTok challenge is to smack a teacher. So I want to be very clear that it will not be tolerated. It will result in expulsion and/or arrest. That's something we take extremely seriously, and I wanted to talk about it or to share that with the board and the community prior to us sending out a statement, to get ahead of it and to be proactive and not reactive. We love our children, we love our teachers, and we promote safety and honor and respect in all of our schools, and we will not fall victim to the latest TikTok challenge. So with that, thank you very much, and that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Hazelton.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'll waive the floor to the committee, Education Report Committee Chairperson.
The Education Committee, with a recommendation of the superintendent, would like the motion of approval of the agenda items number 1 to number 33, and I respectfully ask for a second.
Second.
Madam Secretary, there is a motion on the floor with a second. Can we please have a roll call?
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes. Now I'd like to waive the floor to our committee chairperson on the finance report. I skipped.
The Personnel Committee, with a recommendation of the superintendent, would like the motion of approval of the agenda 1 to 33, and I respectfully ask for a second.
Second.
I believe the finance report has 28 items.
Is it finance, or you said what you said?
Finances, Mrs.
Finance.
Oh,
Fleming.
sorry.
Finance.
Sorry, I read the wrong thing.
I moved to finance. My apologies. I jumped the personnel report. I moved to finance at this moment.
The Finance Committee, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Business Administrator, Board Secretary, present the following motions to the Linden Board of Education for approval. Items number 1 through 28. Ask for a motion.
Second.
For second.
Second.
I second the motion. Madam Secretary, there is a motion on the floor. Being second, roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes. I apologize for skipping. Now I waive the floor to the chairman of the Personnel Committee.
The Personnel Committee, with the recommendation of the superintendent, would like the motion for approval of the agenda items number 1 to 48, and I respectfully ask for a second.
Second.
You meant 48?
It's 1 to 48 for
48,
personnel.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
heard incorrectly. That's what I
Yes.
was trying to confirm. All right, there is a motion and a second. Before we can proceed to a vote, I'd like to express to the board that based on the comments received tonight, I would like to make a motion to table agenda item number 8 for further discussion, and I respectfully ask for a second.
I second.
Madam Secretary, there is a second for table item number 20, and item number 8 on the personnel report. There's a motion on the floor with a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
No.
Mr. Gargano?
No.
Ms. Gilliam?
No.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
No.
Mr. Martucci?
No.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
Motion does not carry.
Motion did not carry. Board members, I'd like to remind you that due to procedural circumstances, this item was not discussed on executive session last Tuesday. The reason why the motion was made, and if we are to discuss it, we are going to be making a motion to go into executive session. And I'd like to ask,
But we can't
respectfully
go
ask for a
into
second.
We had a motion and a second already.
Motion and
No,
second.
no, executive,
Cannot.
to go to an executive meeting
Point
to
of
discuss this
information.
item.
Point of
Point of
information.
information.
First question, we're just dealing with number 8, right?
Yes.
So any employee or employees that are affected have been rice noticed, correct?
Yes.
And did they respond to that rice notice?
Yes.
And did they request that the
Yes.
discussion be held, both of them?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
This was 2?
We didn't get that vote.
Did they both say that they wanted an open session?
Yes, they,
If both- If all of the affected employees requested that it be discussed in open session, then you have to discuss it in open session.
Right.
The information received by this presidency chair was that it was not both members wanted this item to be discussed. So I am only saying this based on the information received by the administration. If there is anything different from Tuesday to today, I would like to get information about it because this chair has not received information. First and foremost, both teachers were not rice on Tuesday, the reason why we did not discuss the situation on executive meeting. So if something changes from Tuesday to Thursday, these chairs would like to ask for clarification.
Question, because to my knowledge,
There is a question to the district on the floor. I will get to your question, board members, in just 1 second.
So the first employee was Rice last Friday, and that person responded that they would like their agenda item discussed in public. The second employee was Rice yesterday and waived his right to a 48-hour notice and said that he would also like his employment discussed in person. That second person is not on this agenda. So you're really dealing with one person.
That is correct. Unfortunately, when we discuss the item in public, the second person will come up to the discussion, and that's the reason why legally we did not discuss this on Tuesday.
Correct.
So is there any type of written notification of the second person waiving those rights?
Yes.
May I see them, please, before we can continue?
Me? Yeah.
No, I wasn't pointing at, I was pointing at Mr.
You call me?
Their employee.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, so,
I didn't see you, Mr. Walker, over there, so I didn't recognize you. There's a question on the floor from Mr. Martucci.
Yeah, Mr. Garcia, I got to ask you a question. I just got to get this cleared up in my head. If there is an agenda item, for instance, on our business meeting, okay, any agenda item that we meet on Tuesday night for business, okay, fine. And at that time, the superintendent and the president, I'm confused about this, that can be pulled, but if it's not pulled and was not discussed on Tuesday night, then it comes basically to where we are now. Fine, there was a motion to basically take it off the agenda. Fine, that's all well and good. There was a second. There was a vote. The motion was denied. Now, what I'm saying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong on this because I'm trying to think of an incident that this ever happened like this before. Now, if we have to go into a private session to discuss it when you had the opportunity to do that on Tuesday, which you did not. So what I'm saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, we should have a vote on that now. And if it's an upvote, it's an upvote. If it's a downvote, it's a downvote. But to have a discussion on the regular meeting when you didn't have the discussion on Tuesday when the person was riced and asked for an open meeting, I'm like a little confused on that one.
So you raised a lot there, so let me try to address the individual issues that I think you're trying to raise with this question. First, as the superintendent said, the employee who's on the agenda was rice noticed for Tuesday, right? I wasn't here on Tuesday, but as I understand the issue, discussion of that employee would involve discussion of another employee who was rice noticed, right? Who was not rice noticed, right? So they couldn't discuss it last Tuesday.
Okay.
again, the way that I understood it from my colleague Mark, who was here on Tuesday, was that it was going to be pulled from the agenda because we did not have the 48 hours notice to Rice, the other employee. It turns out that the other employee was Riced and has now waived, has asked that it be discussed in public and waived the 48-hour rule. So it can be discussed, and you could always have discussion, right? So you could always have, so that's the first question. You could have discussion, right? You can't go into closed. If you're going to discuss it, you have to discuss it out here.
That's it.
But you can have discussion on the topic tonight.
You can have a discussion, but the discussion now, based on the Rice letter which a person gets, when you get a Rice letter, you have a choice. You can either basically have it heard in public or you can have it heard in private. If the person wants it held in public, there's no need to go into private session. If you want to have a discussion on it right here, right now, do it.
Yeah, so,
But there's no need because the person, when they were, I guess, when they were Rice, what I hear, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, asked to have it in public. Well, we are now in public.
Mr.
the
Martucci?
reason why I asked that question, the reason why I asked that question, the series of questions to the superintendent, was when you have an agenda item that affects multiple employees, they all have to be Rice noticed.
Right.
They all have to request that it be discussed in open, right? So,
When you say they all, what do you mean by
I
each
mean,
individual has their choice?
If I have an agenda item that affects 10 employees, 9, they all get Rice noticed. 9 of them say, I want it discussed in open. 1 of them says, I want it discussed in closed.
Right.
You have to respect that individual who wants it in closed, and it has to be discussed in closed. That's why I asked that question. In this particular circumstance, it appears all of the potentially affected employees have wanted it out in open. So that's not an issue for us tonight. But in the future, just so you're aware, it has to be every potentially affected employee has to request that it be discussed in open.
And just to clarify, Board Member Mr. Martucci,
Agree with that.
the request to go into executive session to discuss this matter is because I have not made aware that Mr. Walters, who is standing with us over there, have publicly said that he would like to discuss it. That changes everything. So that was prior to having the authorization of Mr. Walters.
But
So
I'm
we
just-
are going to discuss it in public as both of the employees that affects this particular agenda item here. We're going to discuss it, and we're going to have the discussion tonight.
But, Mr. President, all I'm asking, I'm talking about an individual. I'm not talking about like a group. I'm talking about an individual. If I was Riced, if I was working and I was Riced and I want it in public and I didn't want it in private, okay, that's my choice. Now, if there was other people on the agenda that were Riced for, it wasn't in my dealing with what I'm dealing with, fine, that's okay. But if you're dealing with one person, one job, one Rice letter pertaining to that job, this is where I'm confused.
Let me try to give you a better example, Mr. Martucci.
You know what I'm saying?
Say we're going to, we're evaluating whether or not to make a promotion, right? And there are 3 applicants, all in-house, all our current employees, that are contending for that promotion, right? If we wanted to discuss that in closed, we have to Rice notice all 3 of them because it impacts all 3 of them. Each of those 3 can be potentially adversely affected. They'd have to be Rice noticed. They all have to agree to have it discussed in open. If one of those 3 says, no, I want it in closed, you have to respect the privacy interests, which is the whole purpose of having personnel matters discussed in closed.
after.
Right, yeah.
Then
Just
how come
explain
it wasn't
there were 2
discussed on
and they were
Tuesday
both
night
Rice.
then?
Because Mr. Walters was not Rice.
Yes, he
But
was.
what wasn't right?
On Tuesday night, Mr. Walters was not Rice.
I'm lost on this one.
Mr. Walters wasn't Riced, and he was part
So
of,
what happens with this particular, what happened
Am
with
I
this
allowed to
particular,
mention names?
what happened with this
But I'm saying-
particular, no, no, give me 1 second, Mr. Matucci. What happened with this particular item is that when we are going to discuss the item, we are going to talk about Mr. Walters' position, who is the one that temporarily somebody else is going to have. So that's why Mr. Walters needed to be Rice. We're going to talk about his position. He owns that position right now.
But if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm lost on this one. Because what I'm saying, the board voted on, was it 2 months ago, on the interim principal for School 1. Mr. Walters received that. So when you voted on that, Mr. Walters is there for 1 year till June 30th. Fine. But my question is, what does one have to do with the other? Because he's already been approved to be the principal of School 1 until June 30th, 2022.
Temporarily.
But yet we don't have a science supervisor.
Temporarily. He's
I'm missing
enacting.
this.
he's
Point of
enacting-
information,
Go to
please.
discussion,
Like,
please.
Robert's Rules of Order, please.
I mean, unfortunately, I worked through the chair, but if, I'm happy to answer any question you
Go
have.
ahead.
So, this information I want to give out. So, this is acting position till June 30th, 2022, which is the same dates that Mr. Walters is acting principal. Therefore, there is no conflict.
No.
We are to
There's no
we are to
conflict here.
discuss that, Mr. Gargano. So
Let's
we are not
discuss it.
discussing that.
They both said
Patrick,
they
I
want to
think-
discuss it in
We're
public.
not
Why
discussing
wouldn't
the
we discuss it
situation
in
yet.
public?
What discussing is the legality of the procedure. That's what we're discussing right now.
Okay.
I just want everybody to know on this board that it has been clear with the information that was given by our counselor that after both parties that they feel to be involved in this particular discussion have agreed to have the item to be discussed in public, we're going to discuss it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We have that,
we've
that
know
is
that
clear.
already.
We're going to go to that point. We're just trying to
We're having
answer
an
all the
argument on
questions.
on semantics right now. The bottom line is he was riced. He waived his 48-hour notice,
and we're
he
gonna
wants it in
discuss it.
public. So there's nothing to, there's no argument there,
So
right?
let's discuss.
Yeah, we're going to discuss it.
shouldn't
We're going to
have been.
start
We
the
can
discussion on this item, and I just want to clarify to the citizens, to the board members, that this chair did not have the information that I just got learned right now, and that's the reason why this chair asked to table it, because it needed additional information. But having received the information from the district and having clarified the legal aspect of the discussion, item number 8, before we go into vote for the personal agenda, is open for discussion. Any board member who would like to have a comment or would like to discuss this item?
What's the information that he received? Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Can I
yes.
change my vote? Because I am so confused right now. I have no idea what's going on. And I don't feel comfortable with my vote anymore. I'm so sorry. I don't know what is going on here or why there is
So,
this whole
you-
discussion.
you
I don't
can- you
understand.
can-
And I
you-
think we need to discuss this.
You can do one of, and again, I don't want to get too into semantics of Robert's Rules of Order. You can make a motion to reconsider if the person who made the motion and the person who second agreed to it, or you can ask for a new motion. You could always ask for a new motion to table once again and just conduct a different vote. If that's what you want to change. You want to change your vote to table?
I would like to table this because there's obviously something that needs to be discussed that we are not aware of here.
So I would have to ask the board secretary who made the motion and the second.
I second.
And-
Motion was
What are
made
we-
by the
what are we voting on?
President,
I
okay.
don't see- there's
So
nothing
if Mr.
that we don't know
Rivas
about.
and Dr. Berghammer are willing,
This doesn't make any sense.
because
Can we have a discussion now,
I'm
like
so
our employees
hold on
requested?
one second.
Everything is
Dave.
out in the open. I don't
They
understand what
they
is
want
it.
us to talk about it in front of them.
Ladies and
so whatever
gentlemen.
it is, we should be able to be talking about it
Ladies
right
and
now.
gentlemen, there is a motion on the floor. and
How?
we're not
We were
discussing-
supposed to have
Miss-
discussion.
Not a motion on the floor.
And I did
Mrs.
raise my
Fleming had
hand.
made a motion on the
I'm
floor,
over this.
and with the
No,
motion on the
this doesn't
floor,
make no sense.
now, as for the legal counsel had asked if the person who made the previous motion to table, myself, and Dr. Benhammer, who second, are agreeing to have her have the motion.
Mr. President, with all due respect, I had asked a question and you told me that I needed to wait until you were done. You never recognized me.
Because I
So
didn't
now
recognize,
there's
I
a motion
did
on
not
the
recognize you.
floor, and as the president, you neglected one of your fellow board members.
Ms. Gilliam, I did not recognize you, and we are now discussing a motion that Ms. Fleming has just proceeded.
But that doesn't
So-
make any sense. You had opened up for discussion.
Ms.
And
Gilliam,
so
you're
my
out of
question,
order.
you're saying that you're
You
not
are out of
validating
order.
my question, and now
Ms.
you're
Gilliam,
talking
you're
over
order-
me.
Mr.
Order.
Rivas, I
This
think,
is crazy.
Order.
point of
So-
information.
Mr. Gargano. Ms. Fleming.
Point of
ha-
information. That stops everything.
Mr. Gargano, give me 1 second. Ms. Fleming
Robert's
had
Rules
made
of
a
Order.
motion, and we had the information by a counselor that I, the person who makes the original motion, I'm okay with it, and the person who seconds the motion
This
before
is
is
not
okay
how a
with it
board
within my motion, we can proceed with the motion to table this item. The motion has not been seconded,
Point of information.
okay?
Mr. Garcia, can you intervene? Can you give us some
Information, Mr.
legal
Garcia.
information?
first of all, I need one person to ask me a question at one time.
Right.
So go ahead.
So I just need some clarity, please, attorney.
Sure.
My question is, when we voted because it did not carry, he offered a discussion to the table. Mr. Martucci was asking several questions that you had answered, and then all of a sudden, we had transitioned to tabling. When he acknowledged Ms. Fleming, and yet I still had questions, and to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, we were still in discussion. So other fellow board members never got the opportunity to ask questions. So I would like for you to give me some legal advice to know what are we doing here right now, and if he can just move on to the next thing without having a discussion. That was what we were in right now, discussion mode.
We had a motion. We made a motion to move the entire personnel report. There was a motion to amend that failed, right? There was some discussion on that, right? And then there was one of our commissioners asked to change her vote. I advise that there's two ways that you can do that, right? You can take a motion to reconsider, or the simpler and cleaner way is just to have someone make a motion in a second to table once again, right? There's no bar that says that you can't revote. You can revote as many times as you want. That being said, you asked if the chair opened the discussion. If there are questions, it's certainly within the chair's right to have you voice those discussions. But I would say, if we're going to table and consider a table, I would try to keep the discussion limited to that, as opposed to the discussion of whether or not to vote up or down item number 8, which is possibly the subject of another motion to table.
So, Ms. Fleming, you have a
Point
motion.
of information, please.
You have not, Ms. Regano, I will ask you to follow the rules. You need to be asked.
That
you
is
need to
the
be
rule.
asked to be recognized. Okay, for the
so
point of
Robert's
discussion.
rules. So quick thing,
As of
Robert's
right
rules
now,
of
you have
order
not been recognized. I'm sorry.
of information
Okay.
stops the floor
Points of information.
through Robert's rules of order. Please look
It
that
stops the
up.
floor. That is correct.
Thank
But you need to be recognized. So I need you to ask for the respect to the board members to ask for the recognition.
Information. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Point of information.
Go ahead, sir.
So with both the employees waiving the rights, why would we table this when we can discuss this right now to get more clarity? And then after more clarity, maybe table it.
Okay,
We're just shutting it down.
that is not a point of information, Mr. Gargano.
That's a
Point
question of information.
A point
Why?
of information is something legal to the counselor
Yeah,
to
I'm-
answer. Okay?
Okay.
But it's the right of every board member. It's the right of every board member to either believe that they might need more time for discussion.
Yes.
And that's the reason why that motion on the table was placed.
But we haven't
So
had any
there
discussion
is
on it.
There is a.
You're asking me why
Information.
somebody made a motion. I can't, I didn't make the motion, so I can't, I'm not going to speculate.
Exactly.
I have one more question, if I could, Mr. Garcia. If both of our employees are riced, one has waived his right and he would like to have an open discussion, how are we going to have a discussion in executive session when we have the unriced employee who wants public discussion? This doesn't make any sense to me.
I never said we were going into closed session.
Mrs. Manganello, Mrs. Manganello.
Mr. President, you said you would like to table it for further discussion. How are we going to discuss it if it's in private? It would have to be tabled for further discussion in public?
Mrs.
Can you
Manganello.
clarify?
I never said
That's
it
what
was
I would like to
discussed.
clarify.
Okay, let me clarify to Mrs. Manganello, and I'm going to clarify one more time.
Thank you.
This chair did not have the latest information provided by the district, which means that the information is that Mr. Walters was not rice. This is what this chair knew.
Yes.
And this chair did not have information that Mr. Walter has waived his right of 48-hour notice notification.
I understand.
That's the reason why, due to the importance of this item, I made it a motion to discuss it or table it to further discuss it because it's a very important item.
I understand
The
that.
motion did not pass.
I understand
But
that.
before I made that motion, I was not aware of these things. Once the motion not passed and I asked for information, the information was provided me that makes it legal
Yes.
to have this item to be discussed on the floor. And when that made it legal, everybody had the opportunity to discuss this tonight.
Right.
Now, when
What
we were-
changed is what I'm asking, and why are we tabling it to discuss it, and when? In private or in public? If we're going to table it to discuss it later in public, why are we not discussing it tonight in public when we have our employees here?
That is-
What doesn't make sense to table it and have discussion on another date
And
in
that-
public again?
But Ms.
It doesn't make any
Manganello,
sense.
Ms. Manganello, although that particular, but your particular view may or may not be sense, board members have the right to get any information that they want, any time that they want to discuss a matter. Tabling an item does not mean that it's not going to be discussed in public as it was requested. But that does not mean, give me 1 second,
still
what
doesn't
do
make
not
any
mean
sense.
is that to discuss the item, we have all the information that we need.
Right.
We may not have it tonight. And that's the reason why we wanted to table it. And that's the reason that in my first attempt, it didn't pass. Now, as we were going to discuss it, because we agreed to discuss it, Commissioner Ms. Fleming says, I'm confused. I don't know what we're talking about, and I want to withdraw or change my decision. And she asked for our counselor, how can she do that? Our counselor provided her the information, and what she said is, okay, I want to make a motion to table it. Now, I cannot change what she wants. I can only tell you that every board member has the right to either get all the information that they want to discuss an item publicly, like it was requested, or in private.
But that was my question to you, Mr. President. At this point, if Mrs. Fleming or any other board member would like extra information, that information cannot be discussed in private regardless.
No,
Our
it
employees
cannot.
have been raised.
It
So
cannot.
we would, I just want to clarify, if you could give me clarification, Mr. Garcia. So even if we do table it, we would come back to discuss it in public again. Is that correct?
That is correct.
correct, but
Yeah,
it
so
would be at a
just to be
later-
clear, Ms. Fleming, if she needed more information, she could speak individually or with a group of less than four of the body. She can speak with Dr. Hazelton or Dr. Baldwin or Ms. Gaylord to get some information that she might need to vote. What you can't do is, if we have a quorum, we can't discuss it in private. It would have to be out in the open session.
All right,
What would
thank
likely happen is we would re-rice and just make them make that decision.
Ms. Gilliam and then Mr. Martucci.
Mr. Garcia.
No, wait.
Ms.
Mr.
Gillian.
Mr.
Ms. Gillian
Me
first.
Ms.
Okay.
Garcia.
No,
I know
no,
this-
it's me first, Mr. Martucci, me first.
I got
It's
it.
okay.
All right, go ahead.
So, thank you so much. And so, I agree with what, well, first I want to say I understand what you're saying. I understand. However, since they've been rice, meaning that they want the discussion to be in public, whatever information you have can be discussed now, because they don't want us to talk about them in private session. So if we were to come back, like Mrs. Mangaletta was expressing, correct me if I'm wrong, they would have to be riced again, because we're going to be talking about them. And if they were to waive again, that we would still have to be here in front of them to talk about them.
That's totally correct.
So whatever the information is, we would still need to know that information. If not now, later, it still would be like this.
That is correct.
So why can't we talk about it now?
That is not a decision that I made. That is a decision that the quorum has to make. And there is a motion on the floor that it hasn't been seconded yet, and it's not even ready to be voted on. But that is something that I cannot make a decision because every board member has that right.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Mr. Martucci goes
All
first.
right, Mr. Garcia, I'm not clear on this. I know this is law 101 for you, but for me, I don't get, this is what I'm really totally confused about. And let's go back 2 months, okay? It was 2 months ago, yeah. There was a transfer, it dealt with the principal of School 9 and Mr. Walters. Okay, fine. Originally, what the superintendent recommended, that 9 was going to 1, Mr. Walters was going to 9. Okay, that was knocked down. So fine, 9 stayed where he was. Get that. Okay. Superintendent recommendation was to put Mr. Walters as interim for School 1 for 1 year until June 30th, 2022. We had discussion. Everybody voted for it. That was voted on. That was voted on. That's like contractual. That was voted on. So he's there for 1 year unless the superintendent decides next month she wants to move it, whatever. But that's the way it is right now. We all voted on it for 1 year. That's an interim job. No difference than a vice principal becoming a principal for your first year. You got to get voted on for your second year, but. Fine. That business was done. That business was voted on by the board. That was solidified. Now, fine, put that over here. I'm saying this is an individual situation. You have an opening for a science supervisor. Okay, people, was posted, I guess, applied, whatever the case. There is a person that is recommended by the superintendent. Fine. What I'm saying is that they were riced accordingly. My question is, why was Mr. Walters ever riced? Due to the fact that 2 months ago, there was a discussion on transfer between School 9 and School 1. That was discussed, it was voted on, that was passed. So what I'm saying, why is the principal of School 1 in this picture when this was already solidified 2 months ago by a vote of the board? So what I'm saying is that the discussion only here should deal with the supervisor of science. I don't understand how the principal of School 1 is even involved in this because the board already voted to put him there for 1 year until June 30th, 2022. This is where I am totally confused on this.
And that's fine. I'm happy to speak with you offline about, when a person should be rice noticed or not rice noticed. I'm not going to get into, privileged communications that I might have with administration about who should be rice noticed and who should not be rice noticed. The simple answer is that we thought he should be rice noticed, that it could affect his employment. But I'm going to say I don't see how it's relevant today. He was rice noticed. He waived the 48-hour requirement, and he asked for an open. So the rice notice has nothing to do with tonight's discussion. I also think we're getting a little bit too far into the weeds about whether we should table or not table, right? There's a vote. There's a motion on the table to vote on the personnel agenda as is, right? We're either going to pull number 8 or we're not. And if everyone votes the way they did, except for Ms. Fleming, and Ms. Fleming changes her vote on number 8, that item's going to fail, and you're going to have to bring it back at some later date. So either way, if things go the way people have indicated it's going to go, just by me reading them tonight, it's not going to be approved tonight. I'm going to have to bring it back at a later date. So we're delaying the inevitable.
So this is all assumption that I have. So you first did this to table it because you thought there was problems with rice notice, correct?
All right.
We know there's not a problem with rice
All right.
notice. So, okay.
Correct. So going back to the discussion on the motion on the floor, who, by the way, has not been seconded yet. What Ms. Fleming has said, that she would like to motion item number 8 to table it. Does anybody will second that motion?
Second.
Ms. Melissa has seconded the motion. Madam Secretary, roll call.
What are we voting on?
We're having a
Tabling it
motion
again.
to table
on number 8.
This is a
item
vote
number
for
8.
a table, is that what the vote is?
Table number
The
8.
table number 8.
Table
motion to
number 8.
table.
That's what we're voting on.
That's
Just
what
make
we're
sure what I'm
voting
voting on.
That's what we're voting on.
Okay.
Who seconded that? Ms. Thomas?
Ms. Thomas. I'm confused.
I'm going to do the roll call, Mr. Rivas.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Abstain.
Ms. Fleming? Ms. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
No.
Ms. Gilliam?
No.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
No.
Mr. Martucci?
No.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
Doesn't pass
Fails.
again.
441, yeah.
All right.
How'd it go? Where's the vote?
441 fails.
Fails, yeah, oh, yeah.
So there's a motion on the table to vote on the agenda as is.
As is.
And they can, if there's
All
any
right.
discussion, you could have it. If not, call the roll.
So,
I'm sorry. I missed that part.
I said if there's any further discussion on the personnel record, we should have it now. Otherwise, we should
Okay,
call the
so-
vote.
being that 2 motions to table did not pass, and there is a request to publicly discuss item number 8, I am officially open for discussion item number 8. Any board member who would like to be recognized to take the floor and discuss item personnel number 8.
I would.
Mr. De La Cruz.
Okay. I need to clarify myself from 48 hours ago to now. On Tuesday, when we came in, we didn't speak about this because they said somebody else had to be rights notice. When I'm looking at the agenda and I only see one name on there to approve or not approved, I do not know why we had somebody else come in the picture that had to be rights notice when it's either approved or not approved. That's what I'm looking at. Coming here now, they said we had to raise Mr. Walters. Once again, I see what Mr. Martucci is saying, and I do see he should have been out of the picture. Why is he in the picture? This is why I'm confused right now. I am confused myself, so I needed a little clarity myself right at this point.
Thank you, Mr.
Where I stand.
Any other, Mr. Martucci?
Hey, look, I think we're making this a whole lot more complicated than what it is.
Agreed.
The table did not pass, am I not correct?
Right.
We're
So now
we're
you're gonna
discussing
vote on
item
1
number
to
8.
48.
We're discussing item number 8.
Oh, whatever.
But
I'm
they
saying,
have
look,
asked us to
this is-
discuss
this
the
is
item
my-
in public.
This is my feeling. Look, everyone in this room knows what's going on right now. If you're not, you're on the planet Mars.
Mr.
Bottom
Martucci,
line,
Mr. Martucci, hold on, point of order. I don't know what's going on. Can you clarify what's going on?
Well, let me just put
Let's
it out
clarify
there.
what's going
Let
on.
me put, can I speak? Can I speak?
Okay.
Let me put it out there. Superintendent, and I don't care what it is, this job, that job, boom job. Bottom line, Board of Education approves recommendations of the superintendent. Am I correct? Fine. So each person, individual vote, you can either vote yes or you can vote no. If the superintendent makes a recommendation for, Mrs. Miller, say for instance, whatever, and fine, on whatever job it is, and you vote, and 5 say no and 4 say yes, okay, fine, Ms. Miller doesn't get the job. Fine. What I'm saying here is obviously there are people that are not happy, or I don't want to use the word happy, are not satisfied with the superintendent's recommendation. Hey, that's fine. You're an individual board member. You each have a mind of your own, and you, based on what you base it on, can vote however you want to vote. But what I'm saying, let's just get through with it. Put the recommendation, vote on the recommendation, and see how the vote goes. If it goes a majority say yes, the job is done. If it does say no, then you go back to square one and get another candidate. I mean, that's what you got to do here. What are you talking about? Going into executive. This is the bottom line here. If you don't want to support the superintendent's recommendation, fine. You can do that. You can do that on anything.
Mr. Martucci.
Each member has their own individual vote. On the Board of Education, 5 votes is the majority, basically, and that carries a motion. If it doesn't, it does. So what I'm saying, put the motion out there, Mr. President. Call a roll call.
Mr. Martucci,
5
it is
votes,
out there.
yes.
It's out there.
5 votes.
We are
no,
discussing.
He asked for discussion.
We're
That's all he
discussing.
asked
We're
for.
discussing. Now, I want to, Mr. Gargano.
So with this discussion, what are the concerns here?
Okay, I will bring my first concern, because we're discussing, and this is what is going to make clear to these board members why Mr. Walters needed to be raised.
Not Mr. Walters.
No, I'm going to make it clear. You asked the question, I'm going to answer.
Yeah.
This board was told that the position of Ms. Walters was not going to be filled. This board was told that we were not going to hire anybody to fulfill that position, and these chairs have not received any information that that particular position has been posted to anybody else. So therefore, my concerns were to table this to discuss with the district all these matters, but since the persons involved here have decided to discuss it, that's what we're going to discuss. The reason that Mr. Walters needed to be raised is because we're going to talk about Mr. Walters' position who was not supposed to be filled up. This is something that in my concern as a president of this board and as a board member, not as a president, I needed answers. And I did not want these answers to be in this forum, okay, respecting the fact that there are 2 great teachers that have waived their rights. For everybody else knows that what the board was told is not what we're doing.
That is correct. I was also told the same thing, that this position will not be filled. And I feel like if I'm being played, because I am told one thing and then I see it on the agenda. Listen, I am here like every one of you, and we are concerned about our students. Every single one want good teachers and I was impressed with what this young lady said. But at the ending of the day, we are all board members. And as a board member, if you're telling me that you're appointing someone on a temporary position and their position will not be filled, and the next month I see it on the agenda, I feel totally disrespected.
Dr. Big, I agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying, you got to follow me on this, though. 2 months, were you on the board? 2 months ago, it was 2 months ago. We had the thing with School 9 and School 1. You remember that? Does everyone remember that, right?
Yes.
Mr.
Is that a yes?
Martucci, Mr. Martucci.
Okay, we had a big discussion in private session. Fine.
Mr. Martucci, point of order, point of order. We're discussing item number 8. You mentioned that already. We are not going to keep entertaining you to bring it up.
You're talking over me. You don't want to.
We are discussing item number 8, and what concerns do we have about item number 8?
You won't let anybody talk.
That's what we're discussing.
You're going to end up with a lawsuit right here. I'm telling you right now.
Martucci,
Mark my
thank you.
words. You're going to end up with a lawsuit.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Thank you. Ms. Gilliam.
Remember, I said it to you.
I don't even know what my question is at this point. Okay. So I hear what you guys are saying. I don't recall that was said. I'm not sure if some of you had private conversations with
What was
fellow
said?
This
people.
was not private.
No,
It's not private.
after you, I will speak,
Yeah.
and I'll read the email. But go ahead.
Okay, so to my knowledge, we needed a principal, okay? We have an acting principal at this school. And to my knowledge, he's doing his job, and he's doing it quite well. To my knowledge, we don't have someone that's filling the position that he was prior. Now, if we don't, which it seems as if it's the acting supervisor for science, which we have a supervisor for mathematics, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have a supervisor for each subject. So if we don't have a supervisor in a major subject, who's supervising the other staff? Who's helping them create curriculum or assessment stuff? I don't know. I could be making things up. However, that position still needs to be filled.
But we were told
So
that
I'm not done,
these
Ms.
things were
Thomas.
happening
I'm
already.
still not done. So let me
Continue.
just finish, and
Go
then
ahead.
you can.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. So, with that being said, even though he wasn't right at the time, which I didn't know why, however, he says that he wants us to talk about him now. He's doing a job, right? So if she's on the list, and I think we constantly want to interfere with our superintendent's job. I'm not paying any of you. Our taxpayers are not paying you guys what she's getting paid to do her job to do. So my thing is, if you guys don't want to approve something like Mr. Martucci mentioned, just turn it down. But at the end of the day, we still would need someone to fill that position. If it's not done today, it will be done soon.
And I don't doubt it, Ms. Gilliam. I don't doubt it at all. But as a board member, and I think all of us as a board member, we need to have respect. And we need to get the information timely on how things like in this matter that we're discussing are not going to affect two great teachers, okay? Many of our executive sessions are private. And many things that we're discussing right now are discussions that we had private. And the reason that I'm trying to avoid, but it cannot be avoided no more, to have the discussion in front of two valuable teachers is because we're bringing up private discussions in our executive session to the floor to discuss why X, Y, or Z. That is not fair for people.
It is fair.
That is not fair for people because when we were discussing previous events that had to do with one of these two teachers, we were discussing many other names that we're not supposed to bring to the table. We were discussing why we were taking an action recommended by the superintendent, and with those actions, the superintendent gave us information on what we should approve her recommendations, as we did. But they were items in that private session that, because of the discussion, we're bringing up to the floor to make sure that at this moment, we need to ask the district to give us information why things that we said on private session have changed. And that is the concern. Mr. Gargano.
I think it's been a miscommunication with the replacing the position. I think when we appointed Mr. Walters as acting principal at school number 1, it was assumed that they weren't going to replace his position with somebody permanent, which is why I think on this agenda, it is acting position till the date in which his position at school 1 ends, which he would go back into that position.
That is what
That's where I think there's a miscommunication.
Mr. Gargano, what's happening is...
This is just discussion.
Yeah, this is
And
discussion.
I would like to ask for clarification from Dr. Hazelton on her recommendation, please.
All right. Now, there's one more thing that I would like to add. Having somebody acting includes a different pay. It's not just the same for the same. And includes different extra roles and responsibilities. That's the reason when we were discussed something in private, we were told something, things have changed. Dr. Hazelton, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me first say that working in education and running a school district, things change on the drop of a dime. They change from board meeting to board meeting. That's why I actively email the board, actively submit a detailed weekly report to the board. When we discussed Mike Walters' position as supervisor of science, I did talk to the board prior to the end of last school year, saying that this position probably would be eliminated. Mike Walters is not certified in science. This is a position that I inherited when I started working July 1st, 2020. The person who previously occupied this position, Miss Rose Goldstein, who resigned, her salary is still in your budget, along with Mike Walters' salary is still in your budget. His salary did not change when he was made acting principal of School 1. Miss Apolinsky has been working in the science department on the elementary level. So yesterday I sent the board a detailed memo outlining the reasons why it was very important to have an acting person K-12. And like I said, things change on a dime. What may have been a plan in July or August changes depending on the needs of the students. So as I was made aware that secondary began to suffer for lack of a science coordinator, we had Ms. Apolinsky picking up the slack. Items have to be ordered. Ms. Apolinsky was doing that on the elementary level. She now has to do that on the secondary level. And as aligned, in the memo that I sent, I won't read the entire memo, but all of the board members have this memo. The curriculum and instruction and assessment is in alignment with our strategic plan. We also are introducing AP Biology for the next school year. We need someone to write AP Biology. Common assessments need to be developed across grade 9, 12 science curriculum. The board has expressed on numerous occasions the importance of assessments and moving our district and our students from the bottom to the top. We need someone to lead that work. I will stress again, this is an acting position. This is not a permanent position. It is neutral to the budget. You have 2 salaries that are sitting unused in the budget. You also have the introduction of the next generation science standards, which students will be tested. State testing areas for grade 5, grade 8, and grade 10. Right now, we're only covering grade 5. Chemistry needs to be reviewed, evaluated, and we need to select new instructional resources for curriculum implementation. Supervision and evaluation. The K-12 science role is responsible for a minimum of 30 observations across grades 6 through 12. Absent this role, accountability, feedback, professional learning, and coaching will be lacking as principals and assistant principals will have to add the full complement of science teachers to the load. I implore you and I beg you to please open this memo that I sent to you and to read it. It was never, and it is never, ever, ever my intention to deceive, disrespect the board. My communication is always transparent and open. I call, I email, and do I want this discussion that we're having now? No, absolutely not. However, I am begging and pleading that there is a need. There is a need for the sake of our children. We are here for children, and what is frustrating is that we get lost in not discussing our children. And I'm going to end it here. Like I said, one of the best moments that I have had in Linden since I arrived was the hour that I spent co-teaching children. Co-teaching. In the classroom, teaching, answering questions, getting excited because they were excited to learn, sharing my personal pictures of my trips to South Africa, and filling in those gaps of what they learn in a book and giving it real life connection. And that's what we are here for. This is acting. This is not permanent. And no disrespect to either candidate, but who knows if they will be in that position June 30th. That is further discussion, and that is will be the determination of the board upon my recommendation.
So, Dr. Jesus, I appreciate that, and I like to start saying that as for my job in the board, it's not to go against, honestly, any type of recommendation that the district make. It's not to go against any great teachers that we have and the people that does a great job. But I am going to speak to me as per myself. I cannot understand the need of the district in 24 hours. And that's the reason why I wanted to motion this to discuss, because I cannot understand everything that you just said on an email, on a memo sent yesterday with something that we did not discuss on Tuesday because of the procedural process, okay? And get ready to Thursday, come up and make an intelligent decision that will not affect two great teachers. Personally, I will speak for me. Anybody can come and make an exposition of the need in this forum, but that doesn't mean that it includes everything that I need to know. Because as I said before, we discuss things in private because we want to avoid this situation, okay? And the discussions that we have in private, as understanding things change from one day, cannot just be resolved in a rush, especially if we're looking forward to always make the right decision for our children. That is my point of view. Ms. Thomas.
I had my hand up first before.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go
do you
ahead.
mind,
No,
Ms.
go
Malaysia?
ahead.
Mr. President, I just wanted to comment on a few things that you said. Having this forum in public, like you said before, you felt it's not fair. It is fair. It's fair, and the people who are here who want it in public for a reason, because this needs to be discussed in front of them. They don't want it to be discussed, and the information that's brought forward is up front. And that's what we're about. That's why we were voted in. So our information is up front. And so the people that we're discussing know why we're making the decisions that affect them, affect their jobs, affect their promotions, or affect their placements. What's on the table right now is that basically we need a supervisor. That's the bottom line. We need a supervisor to fill in the position. Mr. Walters has moved on to placement right now in school number 1. Yes, he's acting. Yes, this is temporary. My question to the board is, when we have a highly qualified candidate who is the best qualified person to fill this position right now, why are we hesitating and why are we tabling and why are we not working together as a group for the betterment of our district, our students, to move forward? I don't understand what the problem is. So, I mean, I think we should all work together on this. The discussion is for a good thing. The clarification is a good thing. Asking the questions is a good thing. We're getting it out. We're talking about it. And I think that we should take the information that was given to us. Our LEA president came forward. Ms. Ampolinsky came forward. I think everything being upfront is the way that that's the way that we're supposed to be. This is the way we're supposed to work together. I think we're doing a good thing here, talking and discussing everything. Moving forward, I think is what Mr. Martucci was saying. it's up to us to make the decision, either yes or no, of who we want in certain positions. And I think this just kind of like holds it back. We have a good qualified person on the table. I really hope that even though this is tabled, when we come together again to make the vote, I hope we do the right thing.
It's not tabled.
May I ask
It's
a
not tabled, by the way.
question?
Just to clarify, it's not tabled. It's going to be voted
Got a
today.
turn over here
May I
yet?
ask, no, may
One
I
second,
ask?
one second. Ms. Thomas had the floor,
All right.
and she waved it to Ms.
Thank you.
Manganello.
Thank you. So first and foremost, Ms. Gilliam, I apologize for cutting you off. You said something that triggered me and it made me want to speak, so I had to go there.
It's okay.
All right, thank you. The first issue is, number one, Mr. Walters.
You're going to, man.
Excuse me?
1 minute. Go
One
ahead.
moment,
No,
please.
Major, you got to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, so, thank you. My first question is, Mr. Walters not being certified in science, but yet being the director of science. But Mrs. Apolinsky,
I inherited that.
I know, I understand that, Dr. Hazelton. I'm just putting this out here. I'm not questioning that Mrs. Apolinsky would not do a great service to our students, because I believe you would. But that's not what was presented to us, okay? So when we have these things put in front of us, and it's not all straightforward, it's a little up in the air. Also, why would you not allow us further discussion about this when this wasn't even supposed to be on the agenda? We were supposed to talk about it. Some of our board members wasn't even here for the previous meeting to go over this, to understand why we are hesitant in regards to this. It's just us needing more understanding of what's going on here and the clarity, because the position was not supposed to be filled. So now, if it's supposed to be filled, we need additional information. So why are we wrong for saying that? And we were also told that Ms. Apolinsky was already doing Mr. Walters' job in the science department. So then why are we being wronged and questioned about the decisions that we're making, about tabling it because we want further explanation? I don't understand it. It's not a big debate. We're not saying we don't want you. We want further information. I do not understand why we can't move past that. Additional information. Please help us move the district forward, move our students forward, because our students come first, and they are who would matter. So please give us the additional time to help us move this science department forward, because there's some mess that's going on, that has been going on, that we inherited, not just Dr. Hazelton, but all of us, that we need to improve on to help to move this district forward. Don't just blame it on this specific science teacher, acting supervisor. No, it's not just that. It's so many other things that nobody's paying attention to, and you get so upset that we question things, but we want to know what's going on. That's all. We're not saying, no, this isn't going to happen. We want some more information. Then, if there's a raise in salary, then it falls back on the taxpayers. And who are they coming for? The people that they voted for. They're not coming for the superintendent. They're not coming for the students. They're not coming for the teachers. They're coming for us. So we have to fight. We have to understand. We have to get all the needed information. And I don't understand why it's just such a big fight, as if we're going against this one person. I'm not going against you. I don't want to go against you. I want to make sure our students have everything they need. Our taxpayers are doing us a justice in paying their taxes and making sure we succeed. So we just want a better understanding, and we just want to know what's going on here, because things that shouldn't be here are here. You shouldn't have to be up here and have to prove yourself about certain things that should never have been on here. I know you will do a good job. You're doing a good job now. You were doing the job already. Why is this on here? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you,
That's all I have to
Ms.
say.
Fleming. Ms. Fleming.
Answer her last question. Ms.
Hold
Thomas?
on, hold on.
Ms.
One,
Thomas.
one
you
second.
want me to answer the last question of your statement? And I can, or it's up to you? Just the last.
Yes, that was it.
Okay, so she was doing the position and currently doing the job. And as I mentioned, we have to evaluate, as if she's not a part of the administrative team, she will not be able to evaluate the 30-plus teachers who would need, the science teachers who would need to be evaluated.
Thank you.
So that was,
Thank you.
that's something that came.
Ms. Fleming.
Thank you. And that's all I asked for is more information.
Ms. Gilliam,
I-
after Ms. Fleming will be Mr. Martucci, and there's Ms. Gilliam.
And then I also have to ask a
Berghammer had asked.
question.
You will be next, Dr. Benhammer, but I think Ms. Fleming has the floor right now, and we go from there. Ms. Fleming, do you like to waive your floor to Dr. Benhammer?
Huh?
Ms. Fleming, would you like to waive the floor to Dr. Benhammer, or you would like to?
I would like to speak. I've been waiting a very
Go ahead.
long time.
It's your
No
turn.
disrespect, Dr. Berghammer.
I love to
Okay.
hear you speak. You're very smart.
All right.
I was,
Excuse me?
Okay.
Okay, there'll be opportunity,
Okay.
there'll be opportunity for the public to comment at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fleming, the floor is yours.
I was ready to vote through today. I was confused, though, however, because on Tuesday, when we were in the work session, we couldn't discuss item number 8 on page 30. I already know this in my brain because I've had to go over it too many times. So we weren't allowed to discuss it. So we said we were going to remove it, is what I thought that we said, that it was going to be removed, that somebody hadn't been riced yet. I was under the impression that this wasn't even going to be on the agenda, just from a personal experience so that you understand where we're all coming from. Ms. Marianthe, Ms. Mangalo, and Mr. Gargano wasn't there, so they don't know. But from their point of view, from not being at the work session, this right here sounds like a great thing. But what you don't see is that it wasn't supposed to be on the agenda. And then we get an email, as Dr. Hazelton states, which also confused me, stating, what we needed this for, but it wasn't supposed to be on the agenda, so I was confused when I read it. And I did read it. I read everything. And then we get the agenda today, the final agenda today, and it shows number 8 on page 30. That wasn't supposed to be on there. So I, not paying attention, hit reply all and said, I thought we took this off. Is this supposed to be on here? I was confused. I questioned. And then when we got here, Mr. Martucci came to me and said, you can't do that. That's not okay. You can't reply all. I apologize. I replied all. I was so confused. And then I thought, well, there must be something that I don't know. So you are a great teacher. We are lucky to have you. And after what we heard on Tuesday, we need to keep good teachers. We have too many people leaving us, and we have to do better by our students in our community. We have to be the better school, and we have to look at the recommendations of the superintendent, but at the end of the day, we are responsible. We are responsible. That's why we get an org chart. That way we don't sit here years later and say, why is this teacher science whatever, and he's not science whatever. I'm sorry, I got confused with that too. I'm astounded. I don't know what is going on here. We absolutely do need clarification. We absolutely do need more than one day and a surprise on top of that, because I don't know why all of this is an issue. I don't know why we moved one person to have somebody else go and fill it, but me being a new board member, I see a lot of this. Like, we move somebody to another position and then we have to fill that position. It's like this domino effect that we have to continue with. And I'm sorry that I'm confused. And I'm sorry that we are not gonna table this.
No, we're discussing it, and then we're gonna go to vote.
Can I ask, Because there's a salary increase, how much salary increase? Can I ask that question?
Good question.
What are we looking at? Tell me it's not $2.
Ms. Apolinsky currently is a 12-month teacher under the LEA contract, making approximately $112,000 by that collective bargaining agreement. Moving to the Linden Administrators and Supervisors Association, there's a supervisor's salary line. She'd be step 1, 12 months, $119,000. So budget impact of
It's a
approximately
$7,000
$7,000.
For 1 year, and we don't know where we're going to be at in a year from now?
Can you explain?
I'm sorry.
How many?
But there's
no,
also-
I'm answering your question. I'm asking her to explain the budget and the salaries, that because it's neutral. It's not an increase in the budget.
And also the responsibilities that go along with that salary raise would be, so you don't think that.
Exponential.
So,
Well,
For sure,
Dr. Baldwin,
Dr.
she'll
Bowen,
explain that.
Dr. Bowen has the floor.
Thank you. In terms of the overall operating budget, in the administrator's salary line, there are already existing 2 unused salaries. The supervisor of science salary and also the director of PD and science. Those dollars are available in the 21-22 operating budget right now. So the $7,000 that Ms. Apolinsky would receive over the year would have very little impact on the overall operating budget. And in the end,
Fill those?
Sorry?
Are we trying to fill those open vacancies?
No.
So it's just open.
Yeah, that goes back to my original,
Surplus.
we're not filling it, and those salaries have been sitting there. It's 200, how much is it? Over $200,000 in salary not being used, because the position, like I said, would not be filled, but that's why it's acting because of the reasons that I explained, and so.
So there's no tax
Excuse me?
impact.
Let's not
discuss that
engage
with
the public at
Okay,
this
can I
point.
just say something on the floor?
One
You
second,
have a motion on the
Dr.
floor.
Martucci has the floor, Ms. Gilliam has the floor, Dr. Benhammer has the floor.
Just one last comment, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And Ms. Thomas, I'm kind of agreeing with what you're saying. I heard most of it. But, the thing that I've learned, and I'm just telling you what I've learned in all my years. Been in education for 47 years, and then I'm on the Board of Education. I thought I knew, look, this is a whole different world here. When you become on the board, every month you get a stack of this. You look at it, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. You see it. You see what you go through, every single thing. But what I've seen over the years, and I've heard this over and over again on conferences I went to, especially through my training, board members come and go. They come and go. The people that were sitting here 4 years ago, they're all gone. 4 years from now, you have all new people up here. But what I'm saying is that lay people, and that's what we are, we're lay people. We come in, and no matter what field you're from, you could be a lawyer, you could be an accountant, people come in trying to micromanage a school system. Now, what do I mean when I say micromanage? Well, I know this is the way it should be. Bottom line is the way it works is this. We are overseers of basically the school system. We hire every district, 600 of them, hire a superintendent. Superintendent has their people around them, their assistants, their department, We pay them, superintendents get paid a lot of money. Today, I wouldn't want to be a superintendent for the life of me. It's got to take the breath right out of you. But what I'm saying to you is that when they come up with recommendations, there should be an open discussion. I agree with you. I mean, I don't ever want to see something on this, which just wasn't even discussed. Who's Sally Jones? This should be a discussion. And then, technically, if you have a question when you get these things, call it up. I don't understand. Like someone talked about a salary. You ask. But what I'm saying is that to vote no, and I've done it, to vote no against a superintendent's recommendation, you're going to have a pretty legitimate reason to do it, for whatever reason. But that's your choice, your vote. You can do whatever you want to do. But what I'm saying, if you're hiring a superintendent to do the daily operation, do I know you hired this person as a vice principal? They were an elementary teacher. I don't know her. Is she qualified to do it? She was in elementary school. You don't know. You trust, and the key word is trust, your superintendent to come up with the best recommendations. Well, look, based on facts which you gathered as an individual, which is your job to do as an individual, if you disagree with it, you have absolutely every right in the world to vote no on something on an agenda. That is your right. And no one's going to tell you any other way. But what I'm saying to you, try not to micromanage. Hey, look, it's tempting, believe me. It's tempting. You may know the person, you may know that. But it happens all over, in a lot of boards, trying to micromanage. But if you're dissatisfied with any recommendation on any of this in here, you can ask, and if you don't like it, you can vote no. You could talk to a board member, talk to her, you could talk to her, you could talk to him, and if you get 4 or 5 votes to say, look, they agree with you, then it's, fine, that's good, that's good. So you say to the superintendent, we're not agreeing with you. But have a legitimate reason, guys. And I'm not pointing anybody out, because it happens all over the state. Board members come and go, all different fields of life, and they try to micromanage. What are you micromanaging? If you haven't been in education in your life, what are you micromanaging? You're trusting the superintendent and her staff to come up with recommendations to you. If you have any questions, you question them. If you have questions, if you don't like it, then you have the right to do that. But, this is all I'm saying. And then, here, it happens all over. It's a tough nut. It is tempting. But what I'm saying, you've got to clear in your mind to say to yourself, if I'm going to vote no on whatever it may be, it could be a budget, it could be, who knows, anything that's in here. There's 50, 60 pages. Have a reason. And the reason why you're having this, I had this discussion. I don't agree. A couple of my board members don't agree. And I'm going to vote no. You may not be in the majority, but you're voting no. And you know what? You're voting your conscience. You're voting your conscience. But, don't be tempted by micromanaging. That's all I'm saying. It's a big temptation, believe me. We all know it. Everybody knows somebody for a job and this and that. So that's all I'm saying. And I hope we do the right thing. I just hate to see this stuff going on because it gets crazy. Not only this board, it happens all over, all boards. They come in and they try to micromanage a school system. And you have animosity between the superintendent and their board members, which causes chaos.
Thank you. Ms. Gilliam.
I don't.
Okay, just correct. I have a couple things, but just correct me if I'm wrong, anyone.
It's not going to make no sense.
So a supervisor, an individual who has a supervisorship and/or principalship, they have the right to be a supervisor/director over any subject, even if they may not have the specific concentration in that subject.
Based upon the administrator, the superintendent's review of the needs of the department, it is possible that someone would be a supervisor of a content area that they have never taught. It's possible, but doesn't predominate across this school system. So, the simple answer is yes. Okay. But when we look for preferred qualifications would be having experience in the content area, and Ms. Apolinsky has that.
Understood. So thank you. Because I believe that this is similar to elementary teachers, because they may not have a specific concentration, however, they're required to teach all subjects. Yes? Okay.
That is true.
Okay, thank you. So moving forward, thank you, Dr. Hazelton, for the additional clarification. You are always providing additional information to us. And I also want to thank you for your weekly reports. Every Friday, you provide us with a weekly report. So I want to thank you for that. I'm sorry that we're disappointing you.
Oh, no. No,
No?
I didn't
Okay,
say that.
so I take it back.
No animosity.
Well, I want to apologize to our employers, our parents, and our students. I am disappointed, and I just want to thank you for being our acting principal and our teacher. I support item 8. I support number 8, item 1, and I respect my fellow board members' opinions. However, I believe that this is holding us back. I believe we are in a desperate need of a retreat because it truly doesn't make sense to me, Sinead, how we're having a discussion like this and it's being prolonged. It seems as if the confusion is the information and when you all received it. However, it is detailed if you have reviewed it. And so if you reviewed it, and even though you're not comfortable with the time that you have received it, but it wasn't lengthy, that you did not have time to process it. So at the end of the day, we have an individual who is an acting principal, and then there's a person that our superintendent that we're supposed to be working alongside with is recommending an acting science supervisor. She told us all the criteria of why we needed her. She expressed all of her highlights. And if you all want, you can talk to this lady here and ask her all the things that she's been doing that makes her so amazing. But at the end of the day, our superintendent of this district is making a recommendation to us all. So no one cannot say that they did not receive her email, because we all have. So that's what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Benhammer.
Once again, I respectfully respect all my board members. And one of the things that Greg Matucci said is that board members come and go, all right? You guys have been on the board for 8 years. And for 8 years, our math scores were 6% because we are not doing our due diligence properly when we are hiring people. You know how I look at things as a new board member? We are churning. Churning, you have a soup, and the soup don't taste good. So you tell yourself, let me keep turning the soup. Let's keep turning it, and maybe it will taste better. Reality is that we are sitting here discussing hiring people. At the ending of the day, we want the best person for the job. I know that Dr. Hazelton is trying. Bottom line is, I'm doing the best job. If I object, or I say maybe we should table it, it's not because of the thing that I do not support Dr. Hazelton. I am concerned about what's going on in our district. I am concerned that we have board members that are making decisions and our test scores continue to be low. We have to do a better job hiring and selecting people for positions. Because right now, if I ask any one of you guys right now, what is our science ranking? Where do we rank in the state when it comes to science? If we're making decisions, we should do our homework. We should go, we should say, okay, this is our science ranking right now. This is where Lyndon ranks in science. This is where Lyndon ranks in math. So this is where we are, so this is what we need to do. We are making decisions without even having credible information. This is our children's future at stake. Every 100 students graduate, only 20 of them ready for college. We are sitting here playing games when we have the future of our children at stake. I'm not saying she's not a good teacher, but if people are asking for more time because they need to make better decisions, we shouldn't be fighting over that. We should be sitting down and saying, yes, give them the time they need. Because of the board, we should all be on the same page. Because all of us want one thing. Every one of us sitting on this board want one thing, is for all our children to graduate. We want one thing, for all our children to go to college. We do not want 20 of every 100 kids ready for college. We don't want math scores of 6%. Listen, guys, this is not a game, okay?
Ms. Benhammer,
and I'm sorry if I am sounding...
Can I please ask you to have the discussions with the board?
I'm sorry if I'm sounding annoyed, because I am. Because we are sitting with people on the board who have been making decisions for 8 years. And our system
Mr. President,
is still
I'm
going
sorry,
bad.
but what does this have to do with item number 8?
It has to, because we're talking about hiring people.
I'm sorry,
because we're talking about decisions that affect our students.
Dr. Benhammer has the floor.
We are talking about decisions that affect our students' learning. We're talking about decisions that affect our students' development. And we should be doing it, not because somebody is nice or we like this. We should really sit down and do proper research before we make decisions that affect our students. That's all I'm saying. If we do that, we will be able to move our school system forward faster. That's what we should be doing here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. Mr. Gargano.
So we've had ample time to discuss. Granted, I'd say about 6% of what we discussed has been about this position and the information, learning about this position. Do we have questions about this position that we can discuss? Because everybody's opinions are good, but we're getting very off track with personal feelings and stuff. But do we have any questions about it? Like, we're all here right now. We're in public. We're going to be in public next month talking about it as well. But can we throw stuff out there that we have questions about? So if we don't have answers, then we can research that.
So,
like, in general.
That is a good point, Mr. Gargano. And I will start with those questions. I would like to know, not about the $7,000 increase. I would like to know what will be the domino effect that it will create to now cover another position, and there's the following position. And not only that, what is the picture or the goal of the district, knowing that we inherited somebody who was not qualified for the position, and now we're trying to make somebody acting that has the qualification of the position after we've been told that it was not going to fill up. So those are my questions. So I need somebody to please answer me.
And in response to your first part of the question relative to a domino effect, in this circumstance of hiring, there would not be a domino effect in this circumstance of an acting supervisor K-12, because the significant leadership work that Ms. Apolinsky has been leading as a science specialist K-5, she would continue that work and now extend into the 6 through 12 domain, into the 2 middle schools and into the high school, helping to lead, develop, and implement core curriculum, help with assessment development, help with elements of the strategic plan as it relates to STEM. So in this specific circumstance of a domino effect, there is not one. I understand the rationale for that question, though. Second question, I don't recall what it was.
Second question is, how can I, as a board member, trust the district, the recommendations where we were told one thing, we inherited somebody that was not had the qualifications for being in the science department, and in order for us to do the correct thing based on what the requirements then said that we were not going to fulfill this position. Today, we're filling an acting person on that position. Tomorrow, we're going to make it we don't know what it's going to be. Tomorrow, we're probably going to get a recommendation to make a permanent position, and we're talking about trust. How can I trust the district?
Can I ask a question of Mrs. Cleary? Mrs. Cleary, can you please explain?
Ms. Manganello,
I'm
I
sorry.
have a question. Ms. Bowen has the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rivas. I thought you were finished.
No.
So in terms of the former administrator in the role of Director of Science K-12 and Professional Development, Mr. Walters was qualified, more than qualified, to lead the work in that department. Certainly, it is preferred to have specific science content, whether it's biology or having taught at science at a middle level. And while he did not have that, he had a depth of experience in technology and areas related to science. And his leadership work, his ability to work with people, collaborate with others, bring people together for a common purpose, ability to understand best practices in teaching and learning, all of that helped to bring the department together, K-12. He was able to partner with Ms. Apolinsky, help to guide that work in partnerships K-5. So in terms of your concern around, qualifications, he was qualified. He was not a science teacher. So that's one specific point. In terms of the district vision moving forward, the vision is one shared by, I think, Dr. Berghammer and every board member, which is to not accept the status quo, to work diligently against that, to close the achievement gap, and to see all children leaving Linden college and career and life ready. I think we all share that goal. It seems, to Mr. Gargano's point earlier in the evening, communication is a problem in terms of timeliness of communication, depth of communication, and clarity of communication, making sure that we all leave the conversation with the same understanding. And so I think that clearly is at play this evening, and is really unfortunate that it's playing out in this manner. However, I think our goal in the position would be that during the budget process, January, February, the superintendent is working hard. She was in school one today, had the opportunity to be here. She's out in schools and has it on her calendar. So she will be working with principals and making recommendations for principals around work moving forward. The budget process will be with the board in January. And the superintendent will make a decision to likely post a supervisor of science vacancy, K-12, be very transparent about that during the budget process, that yes, Ms. Apolinsky hopefully is in this position. We are posting it. We will run a full search and be inclusive and look for the best and the brightest people to join Linden, and we will hire the best and brightest, most qualified, best person for that position. And that's what we would do for July 1. The same, I would envision, would be the case for July 1 for school number 1 as well. And that is all the work of the superintendent of schools, and as members of her executive team, we work to support that and work to help her communicate with you those goals.
Dr. Baldwin, thank you for answering me those questions, but I do have to kindly inform you something. When Mr. Walters was appointed to the position, was because we need to find him a job after he was no longer the acting assistant superintendent. And that may have been, and I'm going to choose my words correctly, may have been the reason why not being a science person may have been placed in that particular position. I was a board member then, and I questioned that then, when in this chair was another board member. However, I have to agree with many of my board members have said, what did not work before should not work now. And we need to move forward doing things right. And I really apologize that we have to be bringing items that we were not supposed to be bringing against two great individuals that are doing a great job for our school. Thank you for your answers. Any other board member has a question?
I had a comment, Mr.
Okay, yes, Ms. Manganello.
I backed up a little bit on a couple of things that you said, and that's why I wanted to ask Mrs. Cleary, our assistant superintendent. I just wanted to clarify the fact that our supervisors do not have to have the background. Our supervisors are supervising a department, so everybody understands. If they supervise one department very well, they can easily go to any department and supervise. They don't need to have the background of that department to do that job. Okay, so to say here that that person is not qualified, you're completely wrong. And I want that put out in public for, things like that should not be said that are completely wrong, okay? The other thing that you said before is that Mr. Walsh was put in position
just one point of clarification. Are you asking Ms. Cleary or are you asking me?
Well, no, I'm
because I thought you were referring to Ms. Cleary.
I wanted to ask her, but now I'm continuing.
You finish with Ms. Cleary, then you can answer the question. I could probably answer for you. So please, I ask you to kindly, if you say you're going to ask Ms. Cleary.
Mrs. Cleary, is it correct that a supervisor does not have to have the background in the department in order to supervise it?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mrs. Cleary. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Again, to move over, Mr. Rivas, to what you said before, Mr. Walters was put in the position because he's highly qualified for the science department position. And we needed a person, and we don't have too many people who are qualified in what we need. And you know what? We do value our employees here, and we value their qualifications, and we value their talents, and people do move around here. I don't understand how our board members do not understand that, yes, this is what a district does. You move people to go where they belong, and you can move them around all the time. And you move one person, and yes, another position is opened up, and you need to fill that one too. And that can happen on a rotation constantly. When you move into a district, you don't stay in one position all the time for your whole tenure. That doesn't happen. And I don't understand how so many people are questioning that. Like it's something that you don't understand. That is what happens within a district. People move, and change is good. And people move to where they can best fit and how they can best contribute. And that's what, what makes Linden great. And I'm proud to be a board member here. I'm proud to be in this district, and I'm proud of the people that we represent, and I'm proud of our employees. And I think that everyone here deserves that respect and to be the way you said that it's about respect, please speak respectfully about everyone, on this board and that we employ. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, do you have a question? I didn't hear a question from me, so I guess it's not a question for me. Is that correct?
Oh, I guess it wasn't, Mr. Rivas. I guess it was more of a statement.
Okay, thank you. Any other board member who would like to have a question? Ms. De La Cruz.
Well, where I stand, as of Tuesday, once we were sitting in executive session, they said scratch 8. We will not speak about 8 because there's another person involved. Once again, I'm looking at the agenda. I only see one person there, no other names on that agenda. My opinion was, okay, we will pass it on the recommendation of the superintendent. So then we've left that room literally saying we will not speak about it because somebody else hasn't been raised, and that will not be on the agenda today. So once again, regardless, I'm not here to micromanage because I've been told many times already that we're micromanaging. I don't think we're micromanaging. If I have a recommendation from my superintendent and then they tell me we're not going to talk about it, I am not coming in with my pants down the day of to vote and talk about it out of the blue. Okay? If we had to table, which that was the whole thing that was going to be tabled,
That's out of the question.
that's out of the question, which is not going to be tabled. But I just would like to be coming out here when we did not speak about it in our executive session. This is why we have prolonged our meeting today, thinking today I was just going to go vote and get out on an easy night. Once again, it's not an easy night. Nothing is easy.
Our job is not easy, Mr. De La
Okay,
Cruz.
so whether it's my private life or here, nothing is easy. The decisions I have to make, I was voted in to make the right decision and what I feel is right. I'm not here to micromanage. I'm here to take the recommendation. But if I don't agree, we're not always going to agree. And I believe we can agree to disagree. Okay, and we can move forward.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
good.
Cruz. Any other board member who would like to have any other discussion about this matter? So if there's no other discussion to this matter, before we proceed to vote on the personal agenda, who has a motion and a second on the floor, I just want to close up with this. As a board president, I have roles and responsibilities. My first role and responsibility is to make sure that we do our due diligence and make sure that we, as a team, do the right decisions and follow the rules and everything legally. Additionally, personally, I would have preferred for this item not to be discussed in public because it affects two great people. And many other things that have been said here, I want all of them to know that it's nothing personal against them. It's the discussion and it is the understanding on one board member versus another board member's interpretation. It's the discussion about what we heard, what we think that we heard, and what we are being told today. And it is unfortunate, and I'd like to say, just to close, thank you. And thank you for the job that you're doing for the district. Madam President, with the motion on the floor on personnel, being second, roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
What's the motion?
The
motion
was
is to approve personnel.
Personnel items 1 to 48.
We're voting on personnel, the whole thing.
The whole
Personnel
section.
agenda.
Ms. Thomas?
1 to 48. For personnel items 1 to 48, I'm going to say yes, and I'm abstaining from number 8.
Mr. De La Cruz?
From 1 through 48, I'm going to say yes. I also abstain from number 8.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes, abstain from number 8.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer?
I will say yes, and I abstain from number 8.
Mrs. Manganello?
Yes on all.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
I'll say yes, but I will abstain on number 8.
Fails.
Yep.
Well, the agenda passes except for number 8. Number 8, you need a majority of the full board, which is 5 votes. You only have 4, so number 8 fails. The rest passes.
Right.
It was
Buildings
4-3,
and grounds.
2 abstentions?
We're moving to buildings and ground.
2 abstentions?
Because we did finance first,
The
and then we
vote
have
on
to-
number 8, the vote on number 8 was 4 yeses, 0 nos, 5 abstentions. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and abstentions are no vote. Abstentions are nothing but, an abstention.
Personnel items require a
I just
majority
wanna-
of
yeah.
the full board to vote yes, so you needed 5 votes on that.
We're moving now to buildings and ground personnel. The chairperson for buildings and ground.
The Buildings, Grounds, and Security Committee, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Business Administrator Board Secretary, present the following motions to the Linden Board of Education for approval. Numbers 1 through 7. 8, I'm sorry. Looking for a motion, second motion to approve.
4-3.
I second it.
There is a motion on the floor with board member secretary. Madam Secretary, board roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer? Mrs. Manganello?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes. Planning and policy report.
4-3.
Sorry?
Planning and policy report.
I'm not a policy anymore, any longer.
It is Ms.
These are no
Thomas.
votes.
Thomas.
So then the vote just
My
becomes
apologies.
Planning and policy, Ms.
like
Thomas.
having a 7-member board, and that would carry.
Okay, one meeting, we're planning and policy.
The Planning and Policy Committee, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, presents the following motion to the Linden Board of Education for approval. Number 1, first reading. Policy number 224.1, Title 9, Sex-Based Discrimination. Title 9, 20 U.S.C. 1681, and its related regulations, 34 CFR, and the following require no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation and be denied the benefits of or be subject to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance except as may be permitted by applicable law. The Title IX regulations, among other requirements, require a district to notify, pardon me, excuse me, one moment, please. Members of the public, one moment, please. Require a district to notify designated persons that the district does not discriminate on the basis of sex in district-operated programs and activities. Additionally, a district must prominently display the contact information for the Title IX coordinator as specified in regulation. Moreover, Title IX and its regulations require a district to adopt and publish grievance procedures providing for prompt and equitable resolution of student and employee complaints, alleging Title IX violations, as well as grievance process for formal complaints under Title IX. Policy number 3542.2, school meal program arrears. Procedures for charging lunch. At least biannual reporting to the Department of Agriculture the number of students who are denied school breakfast or school lunch. Content prohibiting, identifying, or stigmatizing student with arrears under section title procedures. Content added regarding determining eligibility for free or reduced price school meal and contacting the parents or guardians directly. Under section title implementation. Content added regarding notifying newly enrolled students of meal programs available and how to apply for them. Policy number 5141.10, face coverings. New policy for compliance with Executive Orders 251 and 253 requiring the use of face coverings in the school district by staff, students, and visitors. Policy number 5141.11, vaccination and testing. New policy for compliance with Executive Order 253, requiring that all staff members who are eligible to be vaccinated against COVID-19 must receive the vaccine or be subject to routine COVID testing. Executive Order 253 also applies to contracted employees, vendors, providers, and any other individuals working in the schools, members of the public, schools, where regular visits to the schools are part of the individual's job duties, including volunteers. For second reading, we have policy number 6140, curriculum adoption. Under the reasons added, NJSA 18:35-4.36a, P.L. 2021 C32, which requires each school district to incorporate instruction in diversity and inclusion in an appropriate place in the curriculum for students in grades kindergarten through 12 as part of the district's implementation of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Under legal references added, NJSA 18:35 4.36a added a bullet L, requiring each school district to incorporate instruction in diversity and inclusion in an appropriate place in the curriculum for students in grades kindergarten through 12 as part of the district's implementation of the New Jersey Learning Standards, and describes the required components 1 through 3. I ask for a second.
Second. Okay. We got it at the same time. Mr. De La Cruz, Madam Secretary, have second the motion. With a motion on the floor and second, roll call, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer? Mrs. Manganello?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yep.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Secretary. And this is the part of the agenda where we are accept or receive comments from the public. Members of the public desiring to make a public comment may come forward at this time. Please begin your comments by stating your name and address. Individuals are invited to speak on one topic at a time, and no individual will speak more than once until all individuals so desiring have spoken once. The public is reminded that to ensure the efficiency and orderly operations of the meeting, members of the public will be limited to speaking on an item for 3 minutes. I invite members of the community that if you want to give us some comments, please come to the podium. And at these times, I give the opportunity for any board member to bring up to the table any new or unfinished business.
I would like to bring up for our next meeting to see how we can enforce our mask policy. Because obviously today we heard too many people say there's people without masks inside our schools. Obviously we had our president, not our president, our Polish president with his delegation and a few other people without masks in our schools. So we need to get stronger, and we need to make sure it's being enforced in our schools. Because I don't think we need to keep on going like this, especially when we have kids that are scared to go to school.
So, Vice President, Mr. De La Cruz, what will be your, just to reiterate, what will be your recommendation for us to discuss?
How we can reinforce, how we can tell the
Enforcement of
teachers
mask
to
policy.
get back to us whatever support they need, because something has to be done.
Reinforcement of mask policy.
Yes.
So you want us to bring it up to the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Any other board member?
I would like,
Ms. Gilliam?
just so that we can have a retreat.
Retreat. You want to discuss it today, or you want to discuss it the next
If
meeting?
it's up to the board, or it's up to you, or up to the superintendent. I'm not sure who initiates the retreat, but I think since we have some new board members, some more veteran board members, I think that it is needed to help us to work collectively and to learn, to be a learning experience for us. And so I think it is long overdue. And yeah.
Just to provide you some information, Ms. Gilliam, I had a conversation regarding the same topic with our superintendent, and we have been in communication with the NJSBA to have a retreat. Unfortunately, they didn't have any times available right now. We're working on something for November.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other business to discuss? Mr. Matucci?
Final comments, right?
No, we're discussing new and unfinished business.
New and unfinished business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was final comments.
Well, I do want to bring something up that I want to make sure that we will discuss it on the next meeting. And the reason that I'm going to do it in the next meeting and not requesting it in this meeting is because we have not only extend our meeting, but we need to show the respect of the public and the children that are waiting for all of us. But I want to make sure that the board members adhere to our roles and responsibilities regarding attending meetings. We understand that there are circumstances out there that will prevent us to be here. And that is nothing wrong with it. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong if we have circumstances that prevent us. What is wrong is that we're not communicating. I have a board member here that have missed 3 meetings, and there is no communication to this presidency or the reasons why meetings have been missed. I could have just easily go to the policy and proceed forward as the policy states, but I'm not that type of person because none of you have put me in this place to go against anybody. If you make a decision for me to lead this board, is to make sure that we lead it from them, for the children. So I wanted to bring up, and next time, our roles and responsibilities, how do we miss meetings? How do we make sure that we know how important the meetings are, and how it is important the communication of the reasons why we miss meetings. We can have good reasons. Reasons are there. I personally was not present here on August due to medical reasons, and I had the opportunity to lead the communication and informing all of you my reason. So that's something that I wanted to bring in the next meeting. Thank you, board members. And now we move to board member comments. And I will start with Dr. Benham.
I'm never lost for words, but after listening to all the comments from everyone, I have to say that we are all challenged with the responsibility of moving the district forward and making sure everyone is safe, parents, students, and teachers. I don't want anyone to think that we are not concerned about the social, emotional development of our students, or also that of our teachers. I know it's hard. I could only imagine how hard it is for a teacher during these times, and even a student and a parent. I could only imagine. I could see parents waking up every day scared to send their children to school, and children scared to go into the schools. I could only imagine that even the teachers, some of the teachers are also scared. And I know we sit here and we are asked to make decisions. Some of the decisions we make, others may not support it, others wouldn't. But I also, even with the disagreement we have as board members, I still feel hopeful that we are all here just for one reason, and it's for the children. And it's to make sure that all our children do well in school. And I want to assure the public that sometimes you have to disagree to agree. Sometimes you have heated discussion, but the results end the way you want it to end. I am distressed because there's so much we can do. There's so much better we can serve. And I hope that today could be a defining and learning moment in each of our lives. I thank you guys for listening to me today.
Thank you, Dr. Berghammer. Ms. Gilliam?
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and I just want to take the time to thank our parents for coming up and to address their concerns. I know that we are trying to work on doing what's best for the students. So I just want to thank you for advocating for your children. And I would like to say welcome back to our staff and our students. I know that our teachers are working endlessly with benchmarks, assessments, SGOs, so much more that I can't even list from the top of my head, but I know you guys are doing your best. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank our students for coming to school, and despite their fears, that everyone is trying. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilliam. Ms. Thomas?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start out with congratulating McManus Soul School 1 and 2 for becoming certified in Apple. And also welcoming back the teachers. The Welcome Home Again event was really great. It was awesome to see how eager all of our teachers and administrators were to, you know, just get back into the routine and just come together and participate in these events. It was great. Myself and Mrs. Fleming had the opportunity to attend, and I know some of the members here tonight, some of the visitors here tonight, question, you know, board members coming out to events. Yes, we are all busy and we do have other things going on, but I do encourage you to email us, contact us. My email does often get misconstrued with another M. Thomas, but I am at mthomas1@lindenps.org. I do like to attend as many events as I can to support our students, teachers, staff, and parents. I'd like to, you know, thank Ms. Valerie at Soul for protecting our students, for just putting her life at risk to protect our children. I'd also like to make a comment to the parents. Please speak with your children regarding these TikTok challenges. These things are very dangerous, and we just want to make sure that we keep them away from doing these types of challenges that put themselves and their teachers and anyone else at risk of any harm. We just want to keep away from that. Ms. Grissett, thank you for speaking about the issues with your son. Thank you for speaking about it and making us very aware. I encourage all parents who are visiting, who are watching, who are listening, who has a friend, to reach out to the board. We may not be able to do things directly, but we will pass the message on. We do care, even if you may think we don't. I also encourage members of the public to just contact us. This is a position that we were voted in. We're not paid for this. This is volunteer work. There is an election coming up. You are also welcome to run as board members. We encourage it. It's not an easy job, and we don't take this lightly. We ask questions. We want to make sure we are putting our children first and making sure that we have the best interests of our children, our parents, our teachers, administration, our taxpayers. Without you, there would be no us. So please, please continue to reach out, be involved, and we will remain to do the same. Like I said, if you need to contact us or me, I am mthomas@lindenps.org. mthomas1, excuse me. And that's all I have for this evening. I hope everyone has a great evening, a great weekend. There is a Latin festival going on this weekend here in Linden. Come out, bring your children, enjoy the performances. Of course, have your mask, keep protected. And if there are any issues regarding social distancing, excuse me, because I've had parents reach out to me regarding social distancing, especially in a high school, please let us know. It's important that we keep our children safe, that we keep our staff safe. We just want to make sure that everyone remains protected against COVID-19. Vaccinated, unvaccinated, wear your mask. Please wash your hands, stay sanitized. And thank you again. It's always an honor and a pleasure to serve you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Manganello.
Thank you, Mr. Rivas. I'd like to just say good evening to everyone who's here today. I'd like to thank all our parents here, our staff, our distinguished council members who are here this evening. It's very important that you all come here and speak out. Whether we agree or like Mrs. Burkhammer says, agree to disagree, we're all here for the same reason, which is the children. And I do thank you all for your comments. I'd like to start out by celebrating what we have here in Linden. The superintendent's report really highlighted all of our wonderful achievements. There's so many things to talk about that at the end of the night, we're so tired, sometimes we can't get through it all. But I wanted to start out, though, with just one thing on the superintendent's report in our Linden Celebrates newsletter, which are our Apple Distinguished Schools. Besides school number 6, school number 8, school number 10, McManus Soul, school number 1, and school number 2 have added to our list. I'd like to thank Mrs. Kafalis. You're here every meeting. If you don't know Mrs. Kafalis, she's a great IT teacher. And I know you have something to do with this because I know how hard you work. This is why I love our district, because we have wonderful teachers here. We have a wonderful IT department. As much as we may disagree about things, there's so many things that we do agree on, and we do celebrate together. Ms. Apolinsky, thank you so much for your class and professionalism. And thank you for the invite to the science department. I will be coming to visit you. I appreciate that. There's so many things that I wanted to say here. I'd like to wish I don't even want to say former LEA president, Eloy Delgado, the best as well, and thank him for his dedication and service to our educators. Thank you, Eloy, for always working from the heart. I can't say too much. I'm going to get very emotional. But at the same time, I'd like to welcome our incoming LEA president, Mr. Robert Mangel, who's moving up from vice president. I look forward to working with you. I know, again, you were a wonderful history teacher at Linden High School, and I thank you also for your service and dedication, and everyone who is here who has stayed this long to listen and really work together collectively with us. I'd like to congratulate one of our professionals at school number 8 for her retirement, Mrs. Diem. Thank you for your dedication and service to our district. I wish you the best. I'd like to also congratulate Mrs. Horry for Linden High School's acceptance for participation in the Restorative Justice and Education Pilot Program. This is wonderful news. I wish you good luck to our students. Lastly, my prayers and get well wishes go out to our students who were injured outside of Linden High School at the start of the school year in the vehicular accident. This is a reason that I believe in the importance of the erection of the Linden High School Academy freshman building that we have been talking about for the past few years and we have been working towards. I really, truly believe that this would create a safe environment for our students and would help to prevent these type of accidents from happening because there would be less foot traffic going back and forth between the high school and the academy. I also urge our Linden School Board members who are also on the city boards to please help this happen. I am aware we have board members here who may have voted no on specific criteria which would help this project come to fruition. Please, please reconsider. Please help the city and school systems work together for the safety and betterment and future of our children's staff and district. I'm ending on that note. I'd like to just welcome back our staff and our students to the new school year. And please, be safe. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manganello. Ms. Fleming?
Good evening. I always sit here and I think, throughout the meeting, and I feel the same way after every meeting. Like my stomach is churned and we do the best that we can, and sometimes we need to do better. All of us, we need to do better. We need to have more respect for each other and, show respect to the public and our fellow board members and our children. And let me start over. Valerie, thank you so much for jumping into that car and stopping that car. That was an amazing video. Great job. Thank you so much for being a hero for our children. And the retirement, Diana Diem, 19 years is a long time, so thank you for your service. I hope that your future is great, whatever you're going to do next. Regarding the COVID, I don't want to say there's a failure going on about COVID in the schools on a consistent basis, and it's not going to change until it gets too bad, and that's too bad. That's a shame, because the numbers are going up. You're absolutely right. The numbers are going up. The children, we're getting higher numbers on children getting sick. I'm always advocating for safety, and I realize that the gentleman that was here that didn't want his daughter to wipe off the desk, what was it?
Mr. Watson.
Mr. Watson. I understand his point of view, because I also expect my children to bring home A's and B's. But I also expect them to wash their hands, and I send them wipes, and they're scared to go to school, and they have underlying conditions. And I not only, when I go to work, do I wipe off my things, I go all the way around. They know when I've been at work. So I would implore you to, it takes 2 seconds to wipe up after yourself and keep the next person safe, or to care about your own safety, wipe up and keep yourself safe, from the person before you. I go all around. I must put hand sanitizer on I don't know how many times while I sit here. I just want to keep myself and others safe. And, I mentioned on Tuesday about the president coming, and we need to do better. We cannot allow people to come into our schools shoved into the gym or anywhere. They cannot use our buildings without following mandates from the government. Those aren't up for discussion. It is what it is, and you need to go by that. You need to not request or allow somebody to have way with your building, but you need to demand. That's where we need strong, definitive, absolute, like we said on Tuesday, now they'll be given the rules they'll be given. Just like, at my work, I work at the National Park Service. If you come into my building and you rent a building here at the National Park Service, you have a stack of papers you have to go by. If you break this, you will be immediately removed by law enforcement. You're gone. And that should be the same for this school. I forgot everything else I wanted to say, but I do want to address you. I am touched by your commitment to the children and listening to Mr. Delgado. I take what Mr. Delgado says very seriously because he is always here. He fights for everyone. I admire him, and I don't take it lightly. And I admire you for being the person that you are and teaching our children and making it fun and bringing it, all of that, what you do, to make it fun or, relatable. And I just want to thank you for what you do. And I apologize that it didn't go your way right now tonight. And I would appreciate that, I would ask that you not let this get you down. I know that the morale is down, and we're going to take time, and I apologize that, we have to do this and go through and see what's going on, because there's obviously something that's going on. And I just want to thank you and for all that you do. And $7,000, we didn't not do this over $7,000. We have other questions. That have to do with future and, how it's brought to us, things of that, regulation. It shouldn't be a day before. And I apologize about that. It shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a question or a confusion or, any of that. And I just thank you for teaching our children anyway. And I don't know if I missed something or somebody. I just thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Mr. Martucci.
I just a short thing. And what I'm going to say tonight is, again, through experience that I've seen for over 40 years. What happened here tonight, I saw happen twice, not while being on the board, but while I was working at an appointment. About 15 years ago, we had a superintendent, and there was an opening for an assistant superintendent. Interviews took place, and the superintendent was going to recommend this person for the job. Well, the business meeting came that night, and the board was there and said, oh, fine, we're going to go along with that profile. Well, board meeting came that night at the high school, and this man was told by the superintendent that he was going to be the assistant superintendent of schools in Linden. In the front row, he sat with his wife and his kids. And the board sat there and had 7 no's against the guy, which was never even mentioned the night before. And I saw it happen about 20 years ago with a principal, same exact thing. What I'm saying is this: there's got to be a complete and total dialogue between the president of a board of education and their superintendent. Now, this whole stuff, there's the agenda. You see it every year, every month. And it usually happens in personnel. And I'm not pointing to Carl, so I'm just saying what I've learned over the years. You've got to know your board members. You've got to know where they are on certain things. And what I'm saying is that What you don't want to happen, it is so embarrassing. It's embarrassing to you, the superintendent, and to the board, to basically recommend somebody for a job. And nothing was said in a business meeting, and here they sit in the front row thinking they're going to get an appointment, and then basically on the vote, they don't get it. So what I'm saying is this. Before this ever happens, there's got to be a dialogue between the president and the superintendent, knowing that if this person doesn't have the votes, they don't have the votes. So what happens is that you don't have to go through this embarrassing thing that you did tonight. Because I've seen it happen twice. It's terrible. Think about you. How would you feel if you were in education, you were up for a promotion, you were told by the superintendent you're going to be her recommendation or his recommendation, nothing was said in a business meeting, you bring your family to the front row here, and the board votes no against you? How bad is that? That should never happen. Fine. Know your board members. If you know they don't have the votes, you tell the super, look, you know what? They don't have the votes, so you don't even bring it to the board. And this is what I'm saying. This is what I've learned. It's an it's just bad, guys. It's bad. It's embarrassing and it's bad. So this is what I'm saying. There's got to be a better dialogue. Because maybe someday some of you got to be president, you know. Let me tell you, it's a tough job. You got to know your board members. You got to know where they are, who's against what, because when something comes to this, you want to make sure that it's going to pass. If it's not going to pass, it doesn't even get to this point. You say to the super, you know, hey, you know what? They don't have the votes. You got to take it off. I don't want the person or thing embarrassed. And this is all I'm saying to you. Hey, look, you guys do what you want to do, but I'm saying, just think about it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. This should have never happened tonight, ever. There should have been a discussion on Tuesday. There wasn't.
We couldn't.
You could have rectified. If you didn't want an individual, fine. You don't want them. But don't forget, on Tuesday on the business meeting, the public doesn't get the personnel part. That's just us. It's just us. So technically, if that person doesn't have the votes, whatever, it could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be anything. Just don't bring it to the public session and embarrass yourselves and embarrass the person that the super's going to recommend. That's bad. Just think if it was you. How'd you like to have your spouse there, your kids there, sitting in the front row thinking you're going to get a promotion, and all of a sudden you get shot right out of the sky? And you never even saw it coming. Not good. Not good. Hopefully, we don't have to go through this again. Thank you.
Mr. Gargano. Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Mr. Gargano.
Yeah, tonight I'm embarrassed to be a part of this board, and that's all I have to say.
That's all your comments? Thank you. Mr. De La Cruz.
Okay. Let's start off with the good stuff first. Congrats to our schools hitting the Apple Distinguished Awards. McManus Soul 1 and 2, joining the other schools that we have. Congrats to the school 10 PTA. I forgot what I wrote it down, but I remember to congratulate them. Thank all our principals for this is their achievement month, for their month, as a matter of fact. Thank the teachers also for coming back to school. Congrats to the high school band. Congrats to our retirement for Diana Dims. And Valerie, thank you for taking action with that moving car. We've been 3 weeks into the school, and we've had a lot of drama. Okay, started at the high school, started with teachers being attacked, and now this TikTok, it's another challenge. A teacher gets smacked. Can you imagine coming to school, and now a student just goes and smacks a teacher and records this? That's despicable. I wouldn't want that. I don't want it going into my job, and my job has gotten crazier. We deal with the public, and the public has gotten worse since this pandemic. The pandemic is still alive, okay? People get offended when you tell them, put on a mask. They believe they're vaccinated. They don't need to put on a mask. You could still transmit, and you could still get it. And the embarrassment today, we can say it was an embarrassment, but the same token, on Tuesday, you were at the meeting. They said, item number 8, we will not speak about it, and it will be scratched from the agenda. We come in today, item number 8 is on the agenda. Okay, so that's a problem. I have taken the liberty with Dr. Hazelton already to walk some schools. I've seen a lot of kids, students, putting the mask on in class. Okay, in the hallways, the teachers or the principals or Dr. Hazelton are addressing the students that don't have the mask, telling them to wear it properly, cover their nose and the mouth. I did see that. Okay, school events, that I am making it my priority this year to go to more school events. I think we should be out there. Addressing the parent with his daughter, the bathrooms. I got wind of the bathrooms in high school when I was coming to this meeting tonight from my daughter also. I was going to address that situation. So I'm glad that you guys have speaking up, because we're not out there every day. We're not seeing it every day. And if they're not reporting it, the teachers are not reporting it to us. You guys are our eyes and ears. And we can hear you when you speak. And as you can see, you have people from the top on down here that could address that situation. But if we're not getting it from the teachers, we're not going to know there's something wrong. And I do thank you for that. And if you haven't heard the news, Toms River, all 800 students at a school. Why? Because they decided not to wear masks. We're wearing masks. So yes, our numbers, well, you might see these emails, because I get the same emails. I have 2 students in the school system, get them every day, and you see students getting sick. But it's not the high numbers like in Toms River. And that should be an example that we are doing what we're supposed to do to keep safe. Yes, I believe people are still going to get sick with the mask or without mask. They're still going to get sick. But our numbers are not as bad as they are in Toms River. And cleaning desk, if you look and you say, let's hire somebody to clean the desk in between classes, in the high school especially, if you take 5 minutes in between each class to clean, if you have somebody doing it, it's going to take probably an hour and a half from the day that students will not have in class. And that makes no sense. So if it's my child just to stay safe and protected, that 2 seconds that it takes or 3 seconds to wipe down their desk for each and every class, I would expect my child to stay safe and wipe down their desk. 2 seconds. I send my children into school also with their own wipes in case there's no wipes in school. But I know we have wipes in school. I know we're doing everything to protect our children. But the little things that are broken, we got to try to fix. And if you keep on speaking up, we're hearing you guys. We're out here. We're in the same boat as you are. Some of us are parents. Some of us are not. Some of us went through the system here. Some of us are still going through the system here. And some of us is just dedicated to be in the system for the kids, for the teachers. And, see, I'm horrible with names, with Eloy and, I'm sorry, Ms. Holinsky, or, I do apologize. I'm horrible and I didn't write the name down. I'm bad, okay? Yeah, the decision was made today, but tomorrow, that decision could be changed and it could probably be one for the better. That's the way I see it. There's always a silver lining. And sorry that the decision was made today how it was made. But moving forward, I believe the right decision will be made and it will be for the better. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, it's always very difficult to get up to every comment of my previous board members, as they have already recognized and celebrated all the good things that he had been shared to us tonight. But I don't want to make anything longer to say that I echo the recognitions made by our superintendent, and I echo the recognitions made by every one of our board members about everything that is happening out there, about the great job that our teachers are doing, about the retirements, about our hero, about everything that the school district does and everybody in the school district does and continues to do to maintain our children first. It has been a long meeting, and definitely for me making it even longer, it is something that it might feel that being very disrespectful, but I could not go home tonight without addressing few things that to me are important. First thing that I want to address, and I want to make a comment, is that no one in this board is taking any type of decisions lightly. Yes, we may agree to disagree. Yes, there might be situations where people may feel that we're disrespecting everybody because we're trying to make sure that we keep the meeting in order. But I am surprised tonight and many other nights when people want to lecture us, when board members want to lecture us, and they, with previous years, were not able to do what they're now preaching. I am surprised with board members not being able to attend our meetings, to know what's happening on the meeting and present on the day of the meeting, trying to say that they're going to be the heroes, or they're trying to get 5 minutes of fame to say what they feel about something that they might not even know. I am surprised that there is people that continues to intimidate this board in order for us to make decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, being a board member is not easy. We also are parents. We also have children in the school, and I echo every one of the parents who have gone to the podium and said things about the school children, how concerned they are, because COVID has changed our lives. But honestly, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be distracted for the main reason why many of our board members are here. It is not a disgrace. It is not a disgrace not to agree on things when we need more information. It is not a disgrace to make sure that we make everything clear, to make the right decision for our children and for our school. It is not a disgrace to debate among us, because that is what we swear that we were going to do in order to make sure that we make the right decisions. But I want to always call out for the assistance of our parents. It starts with us, with each one of us. Listen, COVID has changed us, and many things that many of you are concerned, as our counselor have just said, we may not even have the power to do so because there are governmental directives. However, we are concerned. I am concerned. I'm going to speak for me. I am concerned. I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old in the district, and I hear almost the same thing that many of you have said. But I am going to assure you that I remember things. I don't have amnesia, and I respect every one of my board members, and not necessarily believe that I can interfere in any one of their decisions, because I lead this meeting and I lead the board, but I don't lead their decisions. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being patient with us. It's not going to be easy. We're changing something that it was not correct many years ago. We're trying to change something that, in my opinion, was not being doing correctly with many different board members before us. And many of us are new on what we're doing, so please be patient with us. Please make sure that you take care of your children. Please make sure that we teach our children that respect is the number one thing that we should keep out there. We're not going to get anywhere out there with intimidation. But furthermore, keep reminding yourselves that as COVID has changed us, it starts with us, and we need to be the heroes in everything that is happening. I thank you all for your time, board members, and respectfully ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
Madam Secretary, with a motion to adjourn the meeting and a second on the floor, roll call, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Gargano?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
Dr. Berghammer?
Yes.
Mrs. Manganello?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Mr. Rivas?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, meeting has been adjourned.